Democratic Republic of Congo that killed 10 and left scores injured.
At least 10 people were killed and 39 wounded on Sunday in a bomb attack on a church in eastern DRC. The attack is linked to the Allied Democratic Forces that are hiding in the DR Congo. While addressing the media, the police spokesperson Fred Enanga told journalists that following the attack, they have put up several measures to avert any threats to Uganda.
We've also intensified patrols in Ugoma Forest, which was being used as a point of infiltration. And we've also bolstered security at major installations, markets, and parking yards from Kasese upwards to Ntoroko and Chikube.
Security has been beefed up on several targets and asked residents in Pondwe, Kasese and Bundibujo to work closely with security. Enanga says security has stopped the movement of passenger and cargo boats along Lake Albert at night, as well as tightening security at major installations near the border with DRC.
We also want to further remind the public that the threats of terrorism are real, especially on soft targets, which are many and sometimes difficult to defend, like restaurants, markets, shopping centers, public transportation hubs like taxi and bus parks, places of worship like what you saw in Lubirira, and other crowded places.
This after they thwarted several attempts by the ADF in different parts of the country. Relatedly, police have issued new security and safety guidelines to be followed by event organizers and music promoters whenever they organize concerts. This follows the tragic incident at the end of the year celebrations at Freedom City that claimed 11 lives.
That organizers must write to the Inspector General of Police for clearances, indicating clearly where their concerts will be and if they have reached an agreement with the owners and managers of these venues, they must indicate the number of attendees expected at the event for better planning purposes. They must avail to the IGP measures they are putting in place for controlling crowds, and they must have clear and elaborate access control measures, including hand probes, walk-through machines, canine, and scanners.
The new guidelines, according to police, are aimed at averting future tragedies, and police commanders have been instructed to always be on ground to make sure all the set guidelines are followed. Olivia Nakalembe, Salma Namwanje, NBS Sunrise.
The National Council for Higher Education has extended its deadline for universities to apply for charters from March 2023 until further notice. The Executive Director for National Council for Higher Education, Professor Mary Okakol, expressed worry over several institutions that were closed over minimum lack of credentials, yet they continue to operate from within.
March 2023 was formally the deadline for over 32 universities and other institutions of higher learning to apply for charter or else face closure. According to the Executive Director of the National Council for Higher Education, Professor Mary Okakol, the deadline has been lifted because most universities lack the minimum standards to fulfill eligibility.
What we have been doing is monitoring them and guiding them, identifying areas of strengths which they can maintain, identifying areas of weaknesses which they can improve on.
Relatedly, the National Council for Higher Education is in consultation with the lower education levels to see how to incorporate skill-based learning and learner-centered courses to enhance skill development.
Because in most of our universities, especially the private ones, there is hardly any science. We've been urging universities to ensure that as they teach, they ensure that for every course they teach, at the end of that course, there are specific competences that students come out with.
The Council also explained why they closed universities and institutions without the required standards, but the institutions continue operating illegally.
Yes, there is a gap in the law because the National Council was not envisaged under the law to be an enforcement organ.
Council can make a decision and say university, call it B, has been closed because it does not fulfill the requirements of the National Council for Higher Education. But we stop there. We are not empowered to actually go to the institution and enforce.
The council has, however, dismissed allegations that some universities were accredited to offer courses for access certificates that enable students to cross over from humanities to the science field.
First of all, I think the media misquoted us. We felt that in order to, because one of our objectives to support increase of access, in order to give an opportunity to such students, we have a program where those students can go to a university that has been permitted to offer this program, study for 9 months. And after the 9 months, it's like a bridging gap.
Olivia Nakalembe, Adam Noamanya, NBS Sunrise.
Many thanks, Adam and Olivia Nakalembe, for that report. Certainly it brings us to the close of NBS Sunrise this morning. My name is Shamim Nabakoza, who has been bringing you up to speed with the news events. Coming up shortly is NBS Morning Breeze. Good morning.
Uganda. Why don't we make our own app and create a cocoon for ourselves?
Yeah. Auntie, we are very famous for passing eyes in ourselves. Hey. So things that are literally made in Uganda here. I mean, if you go to a supermarket, for example, if you saw something on the shelf made in Uganda here, and there's another one made from outside, where do you go?
Honestly,
let's be honest.